Leadership Podcast, the podcast made for Latinas by Latinas, with Angelica Cázares, Carolina Arenas, Diana Ruby, Jacqueline Villagomez, and Sonia Ramirez. Get comfortable, amiga, and enjoy the conversations.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Latina Leadership Podcast. I'm Sonia Ramirez.
I'm Jacqueline Villagomez.
And we're here in the East End recording at Kismet Boutique.
Yes. There's lots of cute stuff here. Clothing, knickknacks, gifts. So if you're in the East End, Houston, come check it out, Kismet Boutique.
I'm so excited because today we have the amazing Valerie Ponzio as our guest. In case you don't remember, Valerie was one of the contestants on The Voice a few years back, Team Blake, season 12. And we're so excited to have her on our show today and pick her brain, see what she's been up to, and talk about her career a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be chatting with you all today. Thank you.
So Valerie, tell us what you have going on right now. I know you have a new single. You have an EP that's come out. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, I put out an EP in September, I believe, but I've been doing a lot of promotion on all of the songs and just kind of giving them life, and giving them story and depth and dimension. Since the release, I did this program with CMT called Equal Access this past year, and it's been really great. It's connected me and kind of just put me in some spaces in Nashville that I've been really trying to get into. And it kind of created a pretty eventful year for me with my music releases and my EP releases. And so, yeah, it's been interesting. I had a music video and 2 music videos premiere in Times Square.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So how did that feel? Because I saw your Instagram and I saw you in the middle of the street. It's like, that's me.
That's amazing.
What was that like?
It was awesome. I almost didn't go to New York.
Oh.
I'm so glad I did.
Yeah, you have to.
I know. I don't know. Sometimes you get a brain funk and you're like, oh, I'll just have somebody, capture it and they can send footage. And then I was like, wait a minute, no. And especially my Just a Border Town video, that was the first one that premiered. And it hit me when I was like, oh my God, Grandma's going to be in Times Square in full display. Because my grandma's kind of like the star of that music video. I was like, I'm not going to be there to see Grandma in Times Square. That's not okay.
Yeah.
So I went up to New York and did that. And I'm so glad I did. It was a really special moment. It's a song about El Paso, and it's a song about just being really proud of where you're from and how it shapes you. And so it was cool to see it.
I love it. It's
in New York.
Catchy song.
And I love seeing your abuelita in the video. I was like, oh, and it just made my heart melt. I love that.
Thank you. I know so many people were just like, oh my gosh, that's like, it's just like, that's my grandma, like they connect with seeing their sweet abuelita, and actually the church that we were filming in, that's where her and my grandpa got married. So it was just a lot of special places around town.
Cheerful moment. I love that.
I love your music and your videos. Where does the inspiration for your lyrics come from? Where do those beautiful songs come from?
I go through different phases of where I'm at, and sometimes I don't even really know exactly where I'm coming from, but then it does come as I write and as the song forms, I realize, oh, I was in that particular place. I do tend to come back to writing about where I'm from a lot, as one does when they sing country music, So I do end up singing a lot about border towns and deserts and family. It is a cornerstone. But I also just like my song Desert Rain, as it kind of takes on its own life form, even on social media. It's so interesting because I realize a lot of that song was me going to the writing room, just wanting to kind of speak about being a woman and having emotional, just like confusion, but also just kind of wanting to be authentically, passionate, and just a woman who's not afraid to show her passions.
Yeah.
And so you go into the writing rooms just kind of like, I'm kind of vibing on this, and then it kind of forms, and you're like, oh, there was actually a lot more depth to that than I realized, and people are connecting with that depth.
Right.
People are connecting with that complication, but just kind of almost like authenticity in being who you want to be as a woman, and kind of just saying, I might be making mistakes, but men make mistakes, I'm going to make mistakes too. And just so anyways, that's just kind of a subset, but I don't know, I go in and out of where I'm coming from with the songs, and I think it comes back to home, it comes back to being a woman, comes back to family, different places. Yeah.
I love that. Growing up, what were some of your musical inspirations? What were artists that inspired you growing up?
Yes, I was a big Sheryl Crow fan growing up. I was a big Mariah Carey fan.
Yeah.
I loved in going into the 2000s is kind of when I started loving the country pop divas, like the Shania Twain.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, the Chicks.
Yeah.
Faith Hill. Like I really was loving those crossovers, and it took some years for me to realize how influential they were. I think at the time I didn't realize how heavily influenced I was by a lot of those crossover divas. I call them divas, but I don't know if they called divas.
They were like doing performances, right? I think they were called divas.
Yeah, like those diva performances. Yeah, in the 2000s, they were awesome. I loved those.
Yeah. Oh man, it was great.
The divas. Yeah, what was it called? I feel like VH1 put it out. Like
I think it was VH1. It was either
VH1 Divas.
I think it was VH1.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, because I think it was like Celine Dion, Mariah Carey,
Gloria Estefan. Yeah.
Shania Twain. Like there were a few of them there. Yeah, good times. God.
And then I remember they did like a funny like men's strike back. And it was like hilarious because it was still a great concert, but I was like, why are they striking back?
Men gotta have a thing too. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Sit down.
So silly.
And then you ended up on The Voice. What was that like? And Team Blake. Do you still keep in touch with them?
No. Unfortunately, no, I really can't. There was a very brief filming that you get with the star. I only made it to the battles, but it was still like a whirlwind of an experience. Like it was still like crazy. And honestly, really, I'm really grateful I got to do it. It was a good stepping stone in my career, I think. But like I said, it was so fast and so intense that it's hard to really understand what's happening. But as time,
was it like a blur for you? Like when it was happening?
It's kind of a blur, yeah. Like especially the actual performance of the blind audition for me. When I think about it, it really was so magical. But it was so weird because I just remember I felt like I was like levitating. I just remember looking out and thinking like, is this real? Like my hand went numb at a certain point. I was just like, am I watching television right now, or am I actually on this stage, physically on this? Oh, I'm physically here. Okay.
Experience.
It was crazy, but it was great. I think I feel I worked really hard for the blind audition, especially because that's the fireworks moments. And I practiced so much. I did all the things to prepare for my nerves, which that was the big one, is like getting so nervous that you're breathing differently. And so I always tell the story. I would do push-ups and run while singing Ring of Fire. That was my blind audition song, just to get replicate what my heartbeat would be like in that moment.
Smart.
And it was so helpful because yes, the heartbeat is just like pounding. And like I said, my hand went numb. So that threw me off a little. I was like, why is my hand going numb?
Your lung capacity when you're singing, you need all that, because then you hit a sharp note or something and it's like you don't want that. You want to crack.
Oh my God. It was intense, but ended up being a really good blind audition. I got a 4-chair turn, and I picked Blake, and it was also just a really sweet moment. My whole family was there, and I just loved that I like watching the footage afterwards and all the things they captured that aside on the side stage with my family. That was really cool. It's just a really nice moment. I'm glad I got to be a part of it, and I immediately moved to Nashville after The Voice, so it kind of ushered me into Music City, and that was cool.
Now you're in Nashville now. How long have you been in Nashville?
It's been basically exactly 6 years.
Wow, 6 years.
Wow.
Flew by.
And okay, so you're a Latina country musician. How is that? Have you encountered any obstacles being, I mean, because I can't think of any Latina
Nope.
country artists, right?
Valerie.
I mean, there's more out there that are. I'll tell you this: when I first moved here, it's changed a lot. A lot's changed in Nashville since I only moved here 6 years ago. That's the crazy part. But it was a very different. I would say when I first came here, talking about being country and being Latina and kind of really infusing more of the subject matter and just even sounds like into country music. Like I didn't really feel there's other Latinos that were out here kind of trying that here and there, but generally talking about it seemed more foreign to people. And, it's not like it's not like I mean, the music industry is hard in and of itself. Like whether you're trying to fuse genres or not, or trying to be a Latin trailblazer or not, music is a tough industry. Right. But it was challenging, just with how people didn't really see it generally, not everyone. But then after 2020, I would say when COVID and just racial reckoning happening, I kind of went through a little bit of an identity crisis with whatever I was doing here and trying to do here as a Latina. I was able to connect with a lot of other people of color in the country music space. And beyond that, a lot of the country music institutions were realizing that they needed to make more of an effort to recognize the efforts of people of color pushing their way and really trying to be part of the country music space. So that was after that connecting, it's kind of what got me here in this CMT program. Like there were just more people coming out of the woodwork who have been in Nashville trying to usher in more of that, more artists to be part of that. So I feel like there's definitely, it's like I said, it's a completely different landscape now, and it's really interesting and it's really cool seeing it happen and all unfold right before me. Yeah.
Love it all. That's amazing. You're part of it. That's great.
Yeah.
And would you say progress has been made, like especially in the writing room for minorities, where those award-winning songs are created? Do you feel like there's changes being made?
Yeah, I think there's definitely changes being made. I think that there's always, you never want to say, oh, everything's fixed, everything's fine now. We figured it out, right? Like that's not a reality, but you also don't want to say, oh, nothing's improving. So yeah, you see people just at least aware of the conversation.
Yeah.
And open to capturing. I think it's happening a lot for Latin culture just across the board, even outside of country music.
Yeah.
Understanding like what our contributions and places in a lot of different forms of art and how different it looks for there's just so many different types of Latin culture out there, right? And so I feel like, it's interesting whether you're in country music or another art form, but it's important to see that there's people making those efforts and to be supported. A lot of work to do, though. There's still always work to do.
I mean, progress doesn't happen overnight. It's like it's a journey, right?
But it's exciting. It's exciting to see you out there in the landscape. I mean, I have to admit, I watch the Academy Awards, I like the Oscars, but I'm always every year. It's like, where are we? Where's my people? There's like maybe one Latino or one Latina nominated, and there's so many beautiful stories to tell. across the board and all mediums,
Yeah.
singing, acting. So it makes my heart so happy to see that you're out there and you're making your dreams come true and seeing your music in Times Square. And I'm going to tell you, it made me so excited to see when you shared that you were part of the Academy Country Music member class of 2023.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ACMs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, voting member. Yeah, so I get to
Exciting.
vote on all these awards, and it's really cool when you think about that role for sure.
And you went to the awards show recently, right?
I went to the CMTs and I went to the CMAs. Yeah, I got to walk the red carpets, so that was cool.
Oh wow,
That was really great. Yeah, the CMAs were amazing. Those were in October and November, so those were the more recent ones. Yeah, and it was amazing, fantastic.
I love that. You are currently an independent artist, right? You're not signed with a label currently. Do you have plans to sign with a label soon, or you kind of?
I would love that. Well, I would love it if it was a good deal.
Yeah,
I think that's the trick, you know.
right.
But we've had a busy year of meeting with a lot of labels.
Yeah.
And meeting with a lot of people in a lot of spaces.
I'm sure.
And a lot of social media, to be perfectly honest. It's such an interesting, it's a kind of a Wild West time for music, especially with TikTok, and there's so many variables that you have to constantly adapt to and reckon with. And I would love to have a lot more support, because it does make such a huge difference. It makes a massive difference to have a team, to have a label, but it definitely has to be the right fit, because if it's not, then where we're at now, it's not like the 80s or 90s, you know, like if it's not a good setup, it can be equally, if not more, destructive for your career. And I actually, being, 6 years going on in Nashville, I've actually seen a lot more of those stories happen for artists that are just get bad deals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, again, I would love to have a team. Right now, I'm really focused on how do I build a team? And my husband is my manager, Mike. And so he's been in turbo manager mode this year with the Equal Access Program with CMT, just with more things coming.
Right. The busier you get, right? The busier you get.
Yeah. So, we've just been working at it, building a fan base constantly. My song Desert Rain is doing really well on TikTok, and it's been really interesting growing a fan base on TikTok and seeing what that can do. It's fascinating.
I hear about like authors all the time, like getting published because of their following on TikTok. And you hear about people getting record deals because of TikTok, it's a different, it's definitely a different, it's like a culture in of its own, right?
And you also,
oh my God, it totally is.
And you also have an online store with merchandise. Is that right?
I do. Yes, I do. Thank you. There is merch.
No, I was excited. Hey, she's got merch. I would have got a t-shirt and worn it today.
Oh, I should. I need to periodically promote it more, because I have to say they designed a fantastic, both designs I think are great, but there's this one design that I don't know what it does. It's the black shirt. There's like a little bit of a Selena, like there's something 90s Selena about it that these designers captured, which I was like, yes, capture all. That's all of the, all of that is what I love, want to output for sure. And so, it's a great shirt. But yeah, thank you for the
speaking of Selena, I caught that your cover of I Could Fall in Love. I thought it was so cute. I loved it. I was like, hey, it's got like that country twang, I loved it. I was like, okay, she's a Selena fan. Yeah, I mean, from El Paso, right? How can you not be? If you're from Texas, like, Selena.
Selena is so part of this musical journey for me here in Nashville on so many different levels. Like, she is so important to me as a Latina in country music. And so she actually wrote that song, I Could Fall in Love. Well, she didn't write it. A Nashville writer wrote it, Keith Thomas, and she came to Nashville the week before she died and recorded it. she was really just getting in. She was kind of shifting right at that point. And it's so I didn't know until later the role that Nashville had in that. And it's really interesting because it's just such great songs that she just spectacularly executed. And it's not just that she came to Nashville. I think a lot of it is just for me as a Latina in country, seeing how she was going through her genres with Tejano music. I had a conversation with another some person interviewing me, and he was saying if Selena were still here, she would have definitely performed at the CMAs at some point. And I was like 100%, because she was just encompassing so many different, just so brave and so like so adventurous in trying a lot of different genres out, and fearless, fearless as her Mexican Americanness. Like all of that is something that is widely important and influential to me. So I felt like I had to cover that song in a really country version as like a tribute to her,
Yeah, I love that. Now, do you plan on doing any like collaborations in the future, or any like dream collaborations you'd like? Any artists that you would just like love to just sing with?
Yes, there are so many. Where do I even begin? I mean, I said Sheryl Crow was a huge influence of mine. I love Sheryl Crow so much. So if I ever got to sing with Sheryl Crow, I would be so happy. I love Jason Isbell. He's like an Americana artist. I love, this is going to sound so like, who wouldn't say this, but like, really into Taylor Swift right now. Like, of course, who wouldn't want to ever collaborate with Taylor? That's like, okay, that's a given. But
I wish she'd come back to country. More.
Yes, I know. Just little splashes here and there, but yeah, she's someone who's a little bit on repeat right now for me. But I have a long list of artists. I would just tie up the airwaves with my dream collaborations. Blake, I had this whole song with Blake that I really wanted to do once, that I was like so close yet so far away.
Could be in the future.
Never know. That's right.
Know.
I would love to have seen you with Selena, because I met Selena. That's my little story. You actually remind me.
I feel like you.
Her. And
wow.
she was the sweetest, most kind-hearted person I had ever met. I mean, I went to see her when she came to Houston at this like hole in the wall. She was playing with her band, and my friend was good friends with her sister. So she's like, come on, we're going to go see this band. Had no idea who it was. And then here is this larger than life, beautiful goddess. And she just talked to me like we're talking, like friends. And I remember back then I loved dancing. And she goes, you know what? Next time I come in town, let's talk about dancing. And then, it never happened. So, but I will never forget that moment. And then when I met you, it's like, oh my God, she's just like Selena.
Oh
it's like,
my God. Wow. I don't even.
Because I met her a few years ago. So when she came to town.
Oh my God. That is the most amazing thing I've ever heard. Thank you for telling me that. Wow.
So what does the future look like? What are some I guess bucket list items that you're hoping to accomplish in the next year or two?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to get an album out soon. If not an album soon, definitely have a single coming out in the near future for sure. And I'd really like to get on the road. I don't have a tour set up right now, but I really think that there's going to be one very soon. I have a lot of, like I said, I have this kind of growing fan base happening primarily because of TikTok. And it's like, it's really amazing. And it's really like, it just really is connecting me to fans in a way that I haven't like completely experienced before. And so there's a lot of songs that mean a lot to them that they're identifying with. And just a lot of heart that I'm like, man, I can't wait till we get this on the road. And I can't wait to really, really have that moment with my fans where we can kind of just connect and spark that thing that's been really deep. And that's really, it means a lot to me that people share that. So anyway, yeah, hopefully we'll be getting on the road soon, but yeah, just more music and more songs for sure. More stories. I don't know, maybe even the way I set up my videos that I promote on TikTok with my songs, it's like people ask me, you just brought up book deals. People keep asking me if my channel is Book Talk. And I'm like, oh, Book Talk. I like where this is going. I didn't really know of Book Talk, but like,
all right.
I have little novellas kind of like with my stories that I set up. And so I'm like, okay, let's entertain this a little. I don't know.
Because I was following one. You scared me because you were having like these messages about what do you do when you're remembering an old love? Do you tell your husband? And at first I was like, wait, is there something going on with her and Mike? But then I realized it's just a story. You're telling like a story, but you scared me. I was like, what's going on?
It's getting intense. And it is based on real experiences. So I always clarify that. I don't go into deep details, but it is based on real life. So, I just am depicting these scenarios that I based my songs on, and it's just really like resonating with people. But it's like little salacious stories. So anyways, I'm not saying I'm going to have Book Talk happening, but maybe.
Your music is doing awesome. I read 1 million streams on Apple. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, that was really cool. I was really, really happy to have had that support from Apple and have that reach. Yeah, amazing.
So what do you think about the show so far? We're going to have Valerie sing her latest single, Desert Rain.
Coming up next. I know you mentioned wanting to do a song for us on the podcast.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, and can you tell us the name of the song?
I think I will do Desert Rain for this. Yeah. I think I might take off my headphones while I perform it. Is that okay?
Yes.
That won't mess anything. No, that wouldn't affect anything. Yeah, okay. So I just won't unplug them. So if you have to say something to me, just do this.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll introduce her. So here's Valerie Ponzio, and she's going to sing her latest hit, Desert Rain, for us on the podcast. Take it away, Valerie.
Does it sound okay? Staring out the window of this empty house, miles of dry ground. I swear it's been nothing but months of the burning sun. No signs of life now. The sweaty rain used to fit like a glove back when love was wild. This hotel key is taking me to the storm that I need. Desert rain. Every drop on my skin dancing, waking up my senses, there ain't no damn shame. Lightning strikes in a reckless sky, even if it's wrong, oh baby, bring it on. You're the midnight rush, I've been missing my body begging to be baptized in it. So fill me up with your touch, with your breath, before it all washes away with the desert rain. Every time the thunder rolls, brings me to my knees like a sinner's prayer. Hits me like the Holy Ghost taking over my soul. Come and drown me in your desert rain. Every drop on my skin dancing, waking up my senses, there ain't no damn shame. Lightning strikes in a reckless sky, even if it's wrong, oh baby, bring it on. You're the midnight rush, I've been missing my body begging to be baptized in it. So fill me up with your touch, with your breath, before it all washes away with the desert rain. Oh. Desert rain, oh. The sweaty rain used to fit like a glove back when love was a wild man. But this hotel key just might be taking me to the only heaven I'll ever see. Desert rain, every drop of my skin melting, waking up my senses, there ain't no damn shame. Lightning strikes in a reckless sky, even if it's wrong, baby, bring it on. You're the midnight rush, I've been missing my body begging to be baptized in it. So fill me up with your touch, with your breath, before it all washes away with the desert rain. Oh, with your desert rain. Oh. Sweaty breeze used to fit like a glove back when love was wild.
Yay!
Thank you.
Wow, that was beautiful.
So much.
That was
I-
Thank you
beautiful.
so much.
I love your voice. She just has such a
Yeah, yeah.
beautiful, inviting voice.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. I really appreciate it.
I want to go back and
Yes.
hear the song again.
Yay.
I heard it earlier, and then just the acoustic is just, I love acoustic versions of songs.
Yeah, they have a whole new life of their own.
They
for sure.
do. They really do.
Yeah.
And if people want to find you and follow you, so you're everywhere, right? Facebook,
Everywhere.
TikTok, ValeriePonzio.com.
.com, exactly. That'll lead out to everything, everywhere. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been a
Thank
huge
you.
pleasure getting to know you and more about your
Likewise.
music. And I can't wait to see, what happens in the future, because you just know you've got a
Oh,
Yes.
I mean,
thank
yeah,
you so
I can't wait- I
much.
see you out there on, trending #1, streaming,
Oh, thank you so
award
much.
shows, and listen to you on the radio. Yeah.
Just to me,
Appreciate
you're
it.
already a superstar. So I'm just waiting.
Sonia, thank you. I'm just so glad we've been able to keep in touch all these years. You're so
Yes.
sweet. I
Awesome.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you guys.
I wanted to ask, is there anything you wanted to share before we leave today? Anything we didn't cover?
I don't think so. I'm grateful to be speaking with, fellow Latinas and kind of pushing this forward together collectively. I think that's really beautiful. So just thank you so much for having me on. It really, really means a lot.
It means so much to us, and it means so much to interview a Latina out there that's in a genre and making it happen. And you're not
Yes.
letting anybody stop you or any obstacles. You're just steamrolling through and just keep doing what you're doing, and
Thank you.
checking off the bucket list. And which, by the way, before I leave you, I have to tell you my bucket list. My bucket list is to be in one of your videos one day. So if you're ever, let me know. I want to be
Okay.
in videos.
Okay. Noted. Got you. That's sweet.
You're so beautiful. I love.
So are you.
It looks like a movie when y'all are doing those videos.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys are the
All right,
best.
Valerie. Well, we don't want to take up any more of your time. We know you're a busy girl. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So what did you think about that interview?
That's great.
It was great. And what about the performance of Valerie Ponzio's Desert Rain? That
was
really touched my
beautiful.
heart.
It was
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes. Beautiful voice.
Yes. Special shout out to Kismet Boutique in the East End of Houston for hosting us, for allowing us to share their space. If you're in the East End of Houston, come check out Kismet Boutique. Lots of cute stuff here for you guys. Thank you for listening to the Latina Leadership Podcast today. If you would, give us a like, a share, comment. How do you like the show? Follow us on social media. Give us some reviews on Apple. We appreciate it. What did you think of the conversation? If you enjoyed what you heard, let us know in the comments. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you for listening to the Latina Leadership Podcast, and we will see you next time.